two, three, four.
It's summertime. Actually, summer's over. But fall is upon us. And this is the first episode of the fall season of A Very Odd Caster. Hello, I am your host, The Caster. And welcome to Caster's Pub here in lovely Hornytown, North Carolina. Actually, there is a town in North Carolina called Hornytown. There it is. And so you can imagine that the residents of Hornytown, North Carolina might be a little horny. This is a brand new podcast because what the world needs most is another podcast. Anyway, so we're gonna go from one odd topic to another here. I'm gonna start with some odd news. I'm gonna read a couple stories, a couple headlines, and give you my impressions. This one comes from Pennington, British Columbia. Of course. A swimmer in a British Columbia channel found a ring that had been dropped into the water by a man 17 years earlier. Pennington police released a statement seeking the owner of a ring found in the Pennington Channel by a local swimmer, and that the ring was engraved with the names Stephanie and Noel. Noel. Could be Noel. Christmassy type of thing. The statement came to the attention of Noel Neeson's father-in-law. Quote, "My father-in-law reached out to me. He had seen an article on another news site and sent it my way saying, 'Is this yours?'" Neeson told CBC News. Neeson said he had lost his wedding ring in the channel 17 years earlier. Quote, "That ring was lost so long ago, I was just in complete shock," end quote, he said. Neeson said he and some friends had spent the day at the channel and he didn't realize until getting back to his car that his ring was missing. He said the ring, which was returned to him just in time for his 20th wedding anniversary with his wife, Stephanie, remains in great condition. Now this story jumps out at me because I too lost my wedding ring while swimming in the Caribbean Sea, as a matter of fact. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Other news. In Georgia, a highway was littered with cases of beer Monday when a truck carrying a load of Bud Light was involved in a crash. The Cartersville Police Department said southbound Interstate 75 was closed for cleanup Monday morning when the overturned tractor trailer lost its load of Bud Light in an early morning crash. The crash involved the tractor trailer and a pickup truck, police said. The cause of the crash was unclear. Okay. Can't imagine what might have happened. They love them some Bud Light down there, I'm telling you. I lived in Georgia, and Budweiser is very popular. The world continues to mourn Queen Elizabeth in big preparation for her funeral on September 19th. Meanwhile, the new British monarch is trying to lower expectations, I think, reportedly telling confidants that he might need a little time to grow into the new job, which he began prepping for back when Harry S. Truman was President of the United States. Just a little more time. Meanwhile, actor Scott Baio tweeted, "Hey, I thought I was in charge." Ain't nobody gonna get that one. And finally, it's just a headline here. David Rush catches 77 marshmallows in his mouth on Live with Kelly and Ryan. That, folks, is why we watch. So that's the odd news for the day.
Yeah, I'll take another.
You want a Corona, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Put it on your tab.
Yes, sir.
What was your name?
It's Bill.
Bill. Here you go, Bill. Cheers.
Thank you, sir.
That man loves his Corona. Speaking of Corona, we're going to do a little segment on the origins of COVID guidelines. You know, how did they come about? What was the science, if any, behind some of these decisions? And today we're going to focus on social distancing. In particular, the 6 feet rule. You've seen it everywhere. You see the little hopscotch circles in all the stores. You know, everyone's supposed to be 6 feet apart. But how did it come about? I mean, what was there a controlled study of thousands of participants where aerosolized droplets were measured their projectile was measured to see how far, what kind of distance they drifted and when they dissipated, and you know the results of the research were peer reviewed in the literature, or was it something more random? You know, did the experts just head out one night to a bar for a few beers and threw some darts and, well, check it out. Yes, baby! 19 feet! Well, have to try again. That'll do. Well, now I'm not suggesting that's what actually happened, you know, just having a little fun here. Oh, excuse me. Hello? It's Big Tech. Hi, Big Tech. How are you? You down at the gym getting bigger? Hey, yeah. Oh, you saw our sketch on social distancing, huh? What did you think? Yeah. Oh, sorry to hear that. I'd be happy to pay for a new pack of diapers for you. Yeah, yeah, you know, we're just kind of messing around here, just having some fun here on A Very Oddcaster. Yeah, What do you mean you know the address of my aunt's nursing home? Okay, but you wouldn't actually go there, would you? Okay. Well, okay, I got the picture. Thanks for calling, Big Tech. Have a good day. Big Tech takes life a little too serious. Well, anyhow, on that note, let's dance.
California hit bone, Yelpy on the car phone, hypocritic simulcast, anorectic with a fat ass. Do you know what I'm talking about? Bourgeoisie. Got the devil walking.
And now it's time for a word from our make-believe sponsor. Today's make-believe sponsor, the makers of Smart Water. Now, Smart Water is a kind of bottled water that you can't find anywhere. You can't find this, for example, in the halls of Congress, for example. But it's one of the most refreshing bottles of water you're going to find. And, well, don't take my word for it. Check it out.
Here, have some Smart Water.
The Pythagorean theorem simply means that in a right-angled triangle, the square of the hypotenuse side is equal to the sum of squares of the other two sides.
That's right. Smart Water. Just because Congress doesn't drink it doesn't mean that you can't. Okay, well, let's move along here. Move along to the world of sports, shall we? The NFL football season is upon us here. The NFL kicked it off last weekend, and I was going to quickly run through my picks for the 2022 season. And after the first weekend of action, I did make one change, and I'll discuss that at some point. So this is kind of where I'm at here. The AFC in the East, I like Buffalo. In the North, I'm picking Baltimore. Notice I didn't say I liked Baltimore. I said I'm picking them. In the South, I've got Indianapolis, which they did their best to make me change my mind in their first game. And in the West, Kansas City. They're still looking like the best team out there. Now, there are 3 wild cards this year, and so I've got 2 of them coming out of the West. The LA Chargers and the Raiders. So I got the Chargers and the Raiders, and I didn't really know where to go. I want the Browns, of course, because I'm from there. Oh, you must like Deshaun Watson. I like Nick Chubb, though. But I'm not picking the Browns to go to the playoffs. My heart says yes. My head says no. I'm going to go with the Dolphins. Just because, they're an old traditional team. I wish they'd, get their act together. I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to pick them. Now, you notice who was omitted from the 17 playoff pool. The defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. My theory there, it's not about hatred towards Cincinnati, even though I hate them, being a Browns fan. Like the Reds, though. My theory is that there's a post-Super Bowl hangover, especially with young teams. I'm thinking way back to when Dan Marino, speaking of the Dolphins, in his second year broke all the passing records. They rolled to the Super Bowl. And everyone was thinking this is the first of a dozen appearances for Marino and the Dolphins. They got their butts kicked in the Super Bowl by Montana and the 49ers. They never sniffed another Super Bowl. Marino played like 20 years almost. Never got back. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to Joe Burrow, who I like, by the way. I like Burrow a lot, even though he plays for the Bengals. But I think there's going to be a letdown. You saw it a little bit in the first week, which is a bizarre game. They still almost won it. So I think it's going to be sort of a bump in the road for the Bengals over the long haul. But I got them either got them eking into the playoffs and getting bounced quickly, or I got them not making it. So right now I'm going to say they're not going to make it. And then when all's said and done, I like Buffalo going to the Super Bowl, coming out of the AFC. Although there is a concern that they peaked too soon because they were amazing against the Rams. Now over in the NFC East, this is the pick that I switched based on last week. I had Dallas winning the East, then Prescott went down. They looked crappy too, but then Prescott went down. So I'm like, Dallas is done. So I got the Eagles. I got Philly winning the East. I had them as a wild card originally, but now I got them winning the East. I got Green Bay, one of my favorite teams, winning the North. I've got Tampa Bay winning the South. They still look tough. Unless Brady wins the Masked Singer competition, then he may take a few weeks off to tour. Go to Vegas, maybe. Hey. I didn't have a song queued up to do, but it would have been good. It would have been a good bit. I could stop this and edit it and come back and do that. It would look seamless. But no, I'm not going to do that. We're talking football here, man. So I got Tampa Bay winning the South, and the West is the problem because I see the same thing happening to the Rams, and you could see it. They kind of were fortunate to have it all work out last year. I don't see them doing it, but the problem is that division sucks. I mean, it was really good division last year, but it kind of sucks. San Francisco is not going anywhere with that young quarterback. They're determined. And Garoppolo is not a great quarterback. In fact, he just makes you win sometimes. But he's so handsome. No. He wins, though. The guy wins. So maybe they'll turn to him. And if that happens, I would pick San Francisco. But as long as they're going to, ram this, not ram, because they're in their division, force feed the young quarterback, Lance. I don't see them doing anything. Seattle won the other day, Sunday night. They're not going anywhere. Rams, I just don't see them. So, I'm going to pick Arizona, and they got problems. I think Murray is overrated. Their best receiver is he's suspended for PEDs, POODs, steroids. He's out for a while. So I see Arizona, they could be like 8-8. Well, no, they play 17 games. 9-8, maybe winning the division. The three playoff teams, now that Dallas has tumbled, I got Minnesota, which after their good performance, they could falter, but I got them making a wild card. I got New Orleans making another wild card. I'm gonna say the Rams will eke in there as a wild card. But really what you see in all this is that how much stronger the AFC is. The wild card, when you get to the wild card level particularly. So I'm going to take Green Bay going to the Super Bowl. I think Aaron Rodgers still has it. And boy, he just torments people, doesn't he? With his contrarian views. We can't have contrarian views, folks. We just can't. That might be big tech again. I'm not going to answer it. Oh, good, they hung up. All right, so I got Green Bay winning the NFC, Buffalo winning the AFC, and I'm going to go with Buffalo. But I'll be rooting for Green Bay. I hope they win it. So that is my 2022 NFL picks. And we'll see what we do next time on the subject of sports. As you gathered, I could talk about sports all damn day. Okay, on to the next segment. And now I'd like to do a segment that we'll do periodically here called Stupid Ass Things from My Childhood. So this could be a variety of things because sometimes I think my whole childhood was stupid. And look, I came out of it okay. So we're going to go back to the very early days. I was probably 10 years old or whatever, back when I used to ride bikes all the time. Because people my age used to do that, believe it or not. So I had this little banana bike thing. And one of the things we used to do as kids is we'd take baseball cards, we collected baseball cards, or even playing cards, and we stick them in the spokes of the bicycle wheels. And so when you ride the bike, they go, it would sound like a motorcycle, It was cool if you're 10, right? So everyone would do that. And one nice summer day, I'm not sure exactly how old I was. I'm going to say I was around 10. I put a bunch of cards in my spokes, and then I went for a ride. I went around the big block. And I did this on purpose because I was cool. And I was going to go by the house of a girl who I was madly in love with. I'm looking at you, Lisa. So I'm going around the block, and I'm pedaling like beautiful sunny day. I'm having fun. And I start looking down at my spokes like, look at those go. And I became kind of hypnotized. I'm like, wow, look at you. I'm flying down the street. And then the next thing I know, bam, I ran into a parked car. Whew, that hurt. I flew into the back windshield and, I freaking busted up my face, fat lip, swollen nose, cut and scraped. I hit my ribs. I knocked the wind out of me. Could have been the air, but let's just say with the wind. Collapsed to the ground. And as much pain as I was in, that was nothing compared to the embarrassment, because this car was parked next door to Lisa's house. So I leaped to my feet, or I leapt to my feet, take your pick. And my front wheel was bent. The rim on the wheel was bent. There was a broken spoke. It was a mess, man. But I jumped to my feet. I looked around. The first thing I did was look around, and fortunately, nobody was around. It was summer day, so people were at work, busy, whatever. It was kind of early. It was in the morning, as I recall. So nobody saw me. Most importantly, Lisa didn't see me. So I quickly jumped on my bike and I pedaled home. And as I got closer to home, I'm like, it really started to hurt, you know. Went in the house, and of course, moms are great. Got a little TLC, you know. But I couldn't bring myself to tell her what happened, you know. It's like, oh, what happened, little Castor? Fucking rode into a parked car. But I was in pain and everything. But I was, even though, you know, I was hurting for a few days physically, I was so grateful that nobody saw me, particularly Lisa. Now, the interesting thing is, a few years later, when I was a teenager and, you know, more enamored with these things, I actually worked up the nerve to ask Lisa out on a date. And she very, very kindly let me down easy. She declined the offer. But she was so sweet about it at first, you know. She said, Castor, you're much too good of a friend, you know. So I like you as a friend. I said, oh, okay. And then she said, and besides, I never date guys who run into parked cars. So, that is another stupid thing from my childhood. We're going to wrap up the show with reading some emails. And you too can send an email with questions, comments, or thoughts. And send it to veryoddcaster@gmail.com. That's veryoddcaster@email.com. So we actually have a couple of emails based on our pilot program, which we did last May. I keep saying we, it's just me. But you know, that's what happens when you're like, right? So the first email, I'm gonna need my specs for this. Oh, I just so happen to have them right here. This first email comes from Mrs. Zainab Ahmed. Mrs. Ahmed writes, I am Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, newly appointed Acting Minister of Finance of Nigeria. I am contacting you respect to your fund total amount of $9,200,000 that was being withheld by the former Minister of Finance. That bastard. Today, I have an outstanding order from the Office of the Presidency to release your due contract fund without delay. Do reconfirm your resident address, private email address, phone, and copy of your valid ID. I look forward to your earliest confirmation of this email. Sincerely, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed. Well, Mrs. Ahmed, no problem. And actually, I was kind of thinking, maybe I'll send along my social security number too while I'm at it. And perhaps pictures of my kids. Yeah. So you got it, Mrs. Ahmed. And one more thing, Mrs. Ahmed. Eat my butt. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you soon on a very odd cast.
Jabberwocky type